folks, today I'm talking about my 7-string and the new version of this guitar. This is my RG7420Z or Z, and I just noticed that after 3 years or so of this style of 7-string not being available, it now is again, which is fantastic. Anyway, the new model is actually, if you look on the Ibanez website, is called the RG420EX. So it is 2 letters different, and the only difference that I have been able to find is the new version has a little white binding round the black body. That is it. So this should be quite a relevant video to anybody looking for a mid-priced Ibanez 7-string or a mid-priced 7-string, and especially one with a floating tremolo, because the trem in this is the Edge 02 and it's identical to on the new model, and the pickups are identical, volume, tone identical, 5-way switch identical, the neck identical, maple neck, and the fretboard identical, which is Jatoba or Utoba. That's something I'm not so keen on. However, we'll start at the beginning with some sounds. And obviously a guitar like this, you want to know your nice clean sounds. So I'm going into the Bugera, into the clean channel, and I'm running through this Harley Benton 4x12 with Celestian Vintage 30s, and there's also a little bit coming out of this Laney IRT 4x12 as well, with its own H&H. It's quite a nice blend with the 7-string. So, clean sound, I'll go to the bridge and let you hear what we get. This is the Quantum pickups, Ibanez's own Quantum pickups. It's a clean sound, it's okay. Position 2 is the inner coils of both the bridge and the neck. Quite bright, quite spanky. Now the 2 humbuckers together are the complete opposite of that. But still quite a usable sound. Now, position 4 is just the neck humbucker, but in parallel. So it's a thinner sound than just the neck humbucker on its own. It's actually a really nice clean sound. That's that kind of out of phase stratty. Forgive me, I'm mainly a 6-string player, but I do like the 7 occasionally. And the neck on its own is the same pickup, but wired in the standard series mode, where it's one coil going into the other and you get the bigger round. favourite pickups. I find them a little bit lifeless, and in future, if I'm going to use this guitar a lot more than I currently do, the neck pickup I would leave alone. I don't use it often enough to justify changing. However, I would probably fit a DiMarzio in the bridge. Just something with a little bit more hair about it, a little bit more clarity and a little bit higher output. Because I actually find these are not a very high output pickup, which was a bit of a surprise. I think it could be, keeps the sound nice and tight, but it also means it doesn't drive the amp the same. You really, really need to use a boost with this to make the amp work. Anyway, there we go. Back up, I'll go to the crunch channel and I'll pop on the Wampler Triumph, which is essentially, I've got it set like a Boss SD1, and let you hear that in where you normally use it. Bridge setting with a decent amount of gain. Now, that's fine. As a bridge humbucker, that's a decent enough sound. However, I do find these are actually quite microphonic. So when I'm running a decent amount of gain and a decent volume, you do have to fight with it a little bit. It's not the best pickup I've found for high volume, high gain. I found they tend to be a little bit squealy and a little bit uncontrollable. So not the best for that. However, we'll run through all the sounds. So that was bridge, now position 2. Both humbuckers. Position 4. Neck on its own, wired in series. And bridge again. So yeah, it's got all the sounds and they work fine. I would just be wary of the bridge pickup on high volume, high gain. Anyway, everything else with this guitar is sound. It's very, very good. Now, when I first went on to Ibanez's website, and then I had a look at Thoman's website, they're not in stock yet, I noticed. However, they were coming in at $799 or $699. I can't remember. Anyway, I thought they were, wait a minute, I can tell you, $699. So it's not so bad. €700. And a little bit of me being a little bit out of touch with current pricing, I thought 700 euros? Oh, it's getting up in price. Until I started comparing it to anything else in the market. And by that I mean something else with a floating tremolo. Whether it was a Floyd Rose version or Ibanez own version or what Music Man have, or you know. But there was nothing else this cheap that I've seen. I was only looking really through Thoman's website. However, everything else is fixed bridge, and that suits most 7-string players. However, if you're aspiring to wanting something kind of like the old Ibanez Universe, but not in that budget, then there really was nothing. The next best that I found was by Solar, and it was 200 euros more. So, oof, okay, 899. So this at 699 becomes a bit of a decent buy, because the guitar essentially is excellent. Now, the nut was cut very nicely. The tuning pegs work perfectly well. They're good tuning pegs. Of course, you have the locking nut, so they don't have to be the world's greatest tuning pegs. They do have to be smooth, and they are, and they work well. And the trem in this is the RG7420 trem, which is a decent entry-ish, mid-priced floating trem. This type is also, as well as having your height adjuster, it's a little known fact because most people don't read the manual. However, there's a tiny little Allen screw inside that. I think it's barely 2mm. And you screw that down and it locks these and puts basically a rod into the wood as well. It's meant to help with resonance. Whether it does, that's debatable. However, you'll see how shiny this is, the amount it's got played. This was flat matte as well. The new version is as well. It's a flat black, but with this white binding. So expect it to go all shiny as well. Now, the elephant in the room for me, the pickups I can live with. I really do not like this orangey reddish light brown Jotobin fretboard. I would love to actually stain this darker and make that neck a little bit darker. It just doesn't seem to suit the all black finish. On other guitars it's okay. I just find this a little bit orange for my liking. The neck itself is the Ibanez, it's a Wizard 2 7-string neck, and it's a really nice neck to play. I came from primarily 6-string playing, and I found this quite an easy transition. It wasn't a big change. It doesn't feel like a big neck to me. Going from likes of my Jackson Soloist to this is marginal, really. It doesn't feel, this doesn't feel huge. I've been able to get the action beautifully low with no rattle. You see that's pretty down a bit. So I can still play this like an 80s shred type guitar. There's, you know, it does well. The fret edges were very good. However, again it's back to this fretboard. I've got quite a few RGs, as you may have seen, and I've got some from the premium range as well in the Prestige. Now, this, the edges of the fret board, the wood, not the frets were great, but the fret board is very square from the looking at the top, from the dots, and then this angle, this edge here, I found was really square and very uncomfortable. And this is where you've got to look at the price of the guitar and what you're willing to do. This is the easiest fix in the world, however. I got some fine sandpaper and just rubbed the edges of this and rounded it off very slightly, but took that square edge off, And all of a sudden, not only does it feel really nice, you're not catching this part of your fingers, the palm above the palm of your hand, you're not feeling that. But it also makes the neck suddenly feel much, much narrower as well, which was great. It just all of a sudden, and it literally is a 10-minute job just to rub that back and just roll that edge. So if you're looking at the 7-string and thinking, it's not going to be the premium finish. No, it's not. However, it's half the price. And if you've got 10 minutes and a little bit of very fine sandpaper, 1000 grit, 800 grit, something like that, and just gently rub those edges. It'll actually slightly polish the side of the frets as well if you want, but that's all it needed to make this play absolutely perfectly, beautifully. So that's a simple job. Truss rod worked well, adjusted beautifully, and the trem is incredibly stable. That's probably clipped the mic, but so the actual Edge 2 is a good trem. I've found its tuning stability has been phenomenally good. Once you've set it up, it plays perfectly. The sounds are all there, and if you're in the market and you're wanting one with a trem, I will say definitely look at the RG7420EX, the new model, and I would have in your back pocket maybe a spare €100. If you don't like the pickup, change the bridge one. I certainly mean to put something else in the back of this, probably a DiMarzio, and they're sort of €100 mark. However, even then, it's still going to, I could put DiMarzios on both positions and it'd still be the same price as the Solar. So that's actually the way I'm looking at this guitar. This is one that's easily upgradable, and you will get an excellent 7-string guitar. Perfectly good for gigging. Definitely a gig quality instrument with really nice pickups that will work beautifully live, because you know DiMarzio are going to do that, or you know, even a set of Fishmans wouldn't be that much more. So you're going to be well in budget. And even although this is now up to a €700 guitar, you're actually getting a lot for the money. The neck is really nice, the tuning pegs are good, the fretboard is a little bit orange, but you can stain that if you want. But yeah, good instrument. Now the trem actually has, it's this 0-point system, so it comes with a little wheel to adjust the tension, and it does come with 2 extra springs, which means that it's a little bit stiffer and a little bit less likely to go out of tune. I prefer the older style trems, so I take them off just so I can get that warble. But it doesn't affect the guitar at all. It's a 2-minute job and they just lift out and pop back in if you want them. So it's not going to detract from the guitar. The guitar does not come with a treble bleed circuit, which means that when you roll off the volume it does get a little bit darker. For me that's absolutely fine. And that's about it. It's a quickish run through of a guitar that's going to be coming out based on one that I've had for 3 years, not caused me any issues. So rather than me having a brand new one saying, oh yes, it does this, it does that, I've lived with this for long enough to know the things that it needed to make it work well. And it didn't need a lot. A little bit of rolling on the fretboard, and eventually I will get around to changing that pickup. And that's your lot. So that's my little rundown on the Ibanez RG7420Z, or Z. But the new model is EX, and it has a little white binding. They come in at €700. I'll put a link to the new model in the description below. The link is affiliated, I think I've mentioned this before, and I'm meant to get points that translate into a discount or something. I've never actually figured out how it works yet, but it's a decent guitar made in Indonesia, so the quality I've been very happy with. It's equal to any of the Indonesian made 6 strings that I've got. I would actually say that the nut was actually better cut on this. The tuning stability is good. Tech, yeah, I think I've covered everything. So I hope that's of use to you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll have something for you very soon, because tomorrow I'm off to find an old amplifier, and I'm quite looking forward to that. So I'll play you out with a bit of 7-string stuff that I'll just make up on the spot. So thank you very much, and bye bye. Oh, and it's 24 frets. Forgot to mention that. Bye bye.